Alright guys, so I haven't done a review in a while, and my most viewed video is a review of one of the motherboards. So I said, screw it, let's do another review. Alright, so this review is going to be on the Asus Radeon R9 270. It's a great card. I personally use this card still. I bought it, I don't even know, maybe about a year ago. It's still running strong. One thing that's really good about this card is if you use the Asus GPU tweak on it, which is right there, you can max out the settings. You literally max out the clock and the memory clock, and up the memory, like the GPU voltage by like 10. You can max out 100%, and I mean I've seen significant gains from doing so. I mean, I've seen like 3 or 4 frames per second extra, or 5 frames per second extra, as well as a lot better marks on my on the benchmarks, on the heaven benchmark. I mean, I was going from like a certain score to like 200 to 300 more on that score. What comes in the box? I'll open it up. I don't have another. This is my original box. I can keep all my original boxes for my parts. Take it out. It comes in this nice like wrapping. Comes with that crossfire bridge, so if you want to go crossfire, if you buy another one, you decide to do crossfire, you can. Comes with an installation CD, which I think I might have down here. No, I don't, but I do have the speed setup booklet still. I think it was also wrapped in bubble wrap as well, like right here, wrapped in bubble wrap. But I think it came with a disc, but over the time I've misplaced that disc. Doesn't matter anyway, my computer doesn't have a disk drive. So, overall, out of cards, it'd be obviously my favorite card so far that I've owned. That's because I upgraded from a 7750 to this. So this is a lot better of a card. I think I paid, I bought this when this was still expensive. Like, they had these for like $240 in games and cars that are like this. Like the GTX 660 that my buddy just got was like $230, $235, and I got this on sale for $200, first day shipping, or next day shipping, and Rust processing. So when it came down to it, it was like $170. It was on sale at the time. And now it's around $170, $180 flat out. So if you want a medium end card, this is what you need right here. I will say the only thing that bothers me about this card, for games like Tomb Raider and some of the modern games, unfortunately, I think the shaders aren't really up to par. The only reason why I say that is because the fact that I couldn't max out Tomb Raider. I tried maxing out Tomb Raider, and I was getting frame rates of like 10 or 20 frames per second, and it was just not playable. I had to turn down the anti-aliasing and like one other thing, and I got it to run at like a 60 frames per second. I had an FXAA or SSAO1 or some shit like that. I had it somewhat turned up, but turned down at the same time, and I was getting like 50 to 60 frames per second, which is highly playable. Yeah, so this card is definitely recommended from me. I've seen so much days of use with this thing. I game almost every single day, if not I do. For those of you that are playing games like Dota, it runs Dota perfectly 100% fine. I mean, obviously, you can build a computer that's $300 that'll run Dota fine. Runs games like Skyrim with some mods at like full, 60 frames per second, 1080p. Games like Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, 60 frames per second. What else? Bioshock Infinite, I think maxed out gets like 50 frames per second. Or like 55, maybe 60. I don't know, I haven't played it in forever. Battlefield 3, 60 frames per second, almost constant. Actually, recording, I can get 60 frames per second in Battlefield 3. Dark Souls 2 is 60 frames per second. Dark Souls 1 60 frames per second. Next card game is 60 frames per second. All of them are maxed out. But, yeah, so overall, this card's a great card. Out of 10, I'd rate it maybe a 7 or an 8. Only because I'm actually switching from AMD, which is right here, to a NVIDIA card. Reason being is not because I prefer NVIDIA. I actually prefer AMD. I've been AMD since day one. My first processor was the AMD Athlon 2 x 4645, which is actually my fiance's computer right now. And the same exact one I bought originally. And that was in 2012, so that processor is still going strong. And I've always bought AMD cards. My first card was a 7750 by Sapphire. It was a low profile, and then I went from that to an XFX 7750, and then from that 7750 to this R9 270. But I'm going NVIDIA because I plan on buying the NVIDIA Shield. And for those of you that don't know, the NVIDIA Shield is able to stream games from your computer if it has a GTX graphics card higher than or the same as, I think it's like 680 or something like that, like the GTX 680. So you can stream your games like Crysis 3 and stuff like that to, you know, your NVIDIA Shield. So you're not just limited to like Android games. With that being said, for $180, this is a great card. If you can find a sale on it and get it for even cheaper, that's even better. It's got 2 GB of DDR5 RAM. It runs a little warm. I've noticed that. I've gotten it up to temps like 50 Celsius. But that was with it fully 100% overclocked. Right now it's not overclocked 100%. I had it overclocked in Windows 7. I have had to overclock it in Windows 8. I felt as though there was no need. I don't have any really high demanding games installed. I don't play Metro Last Light, even though I do own it. Games like that, but yeah, I would definitely 100% recommend this card to any entry or medium level gaming computer. It does the job. It'll get the job done. May not be the best card in the world, but it's pretty damn good. I mean, and if you grab 2 of these in Crossfire, I mean, just imagine the capability. I mean, you know what I mean? This thing is fucking nuts. Now, if you're trying to run a multi-monitor setup and you're trying to game, do not buy one of these. You're going to want to run 2 of these. Because one is only 2 GB of RAM. And for a decent rig, you need 2 gigs of RAM per stream to play most modern games. 2 gigs of GDDR5, not DDR3, GDDR5. And for that, unfortunately, you're going to need, like I said, either 2 or 3 of these, so you have extra RAM for fucking gaming, or you just go with, like, I think MSI makes an R9 270X, that's 4 gigs of RAM, straight out the box, or it's an R9 280X, you might as well spend the extra $70 to get one of those, than going Crossfire with this, because it's a higher core clock, higher memory clock, because there's more RAM, and stuff like that. So, but I hope this video you guys enjoyed. I'm going to do a couple other more videos about reviews as I buy parts, and I plan on buying a part sometime soon. I'm turning my computer into a mini ITX build, so I'll have a couple parts like motherboard. I'm going with a Noctua low-profile cooler sometime soon. It's like $80. And I also plan on going with like a new RAM, Corsair XMS. So you'll see the reviews on that. Also, my previous review about ECS motherboards, I had been mad at ECS after I realized I thought my board was dead on arrival. It's not dead on arrival. It was my power supply that I was running. It was a Raid Max 500 watt. It was a no-name power supply. Well, Max is a company, but it wasn't good. It wasn't pushing out the right amount of power to my graphics card, which was causing my graphics driver to fail. So with that being said, ECS is still a decent board. I will say the customer support really sucks. So just because they'll blame everything on everything else. They won't even say their board's faulty. They'll say, all right, well, it's your power supply or it's this. I mean, yeah, granted, it turned out it was my power supply and it was just stupid of me not checking. But the point is they didn't want to take responsibility for their fucking $40 board. Like, you can't even give me a refund for $40. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for other reviews.